My father died hating me. At least, that's what I believed for 7 years. 7 years of carrying guilt so heavy I could barely breathe. 7 years of replaying our last conversation over and over, wishing I could take back every word. 7 years of believing I was the reason he gave up. But I was wrong. The truth was in a letter he wrote 3 days before he died, a letter no one gave me until last week. I found it by accident, hidden in a box of his things my mother had been too scared to open. And when I read the first line, my hands started shaking so badly I almost couldn't hold the paper. To my son, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And it means you still don't know the truth. The truth about why he pushed me away, why he stopped talking to me, why he spent his last year acting like I didn't exist. The truth that broke my heart and healed it at the same time. Let me tell you about the letter that changed everything I thought I knew about my father.
My dad was my hero when I was a kid. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to throw a baseball, how to change a tire and fix a leaky faucet. He worked 2 jobs to keep our family fed, and he never complained. Not once. Every Saturday morning, we'd go to the diner on 5th Street and order the same thing. Pancakes for me, black coffee and toast for him. He'd ask me about school, about my friends, about my dreams, and he'd listen like every word I said mattered. "You're going to do big things, son," he'd say, ruffling my hair. "Bigger than me. Better than me." I believed him. But somewhere between my childhood and my 20s, things changed. I went to college, got a degree in business, started working at a fancy company in the city, wearing suits and ties, sitting in meetings, making more money in a month than Dad made in 3. I thought he'd be proud.
But instead, he got quiet, distant. Every time I came home to visit, he barely looked at me. Our conversations got shorter and shorter until they were just mumbles and nods. "How's work, Dad?" "Fine." "How are you feeling?" "Fine." "Need anything?" "Nope." I didn't understand it. I thought maybe he was getting older, more tired. Maybe he was just stressed about money or health. So I tried to help. I offered to pay off their mortgage, to buy them a new car, to send them on a vacation. He refused everything. "We don't need your charity," he'd say, his jaw tight. "Charity? I was his son. I was just trying to take care of him the way he'd taken care of me." But he saw it differently, and I didn't understand why. Our last conversation happened on a Tuesday. I'd driven home to surprise them for Mom's birthday. I walked in with gifts, expensive ones, and Dad took one look at the bags in my hands, and his face went cold. "You think money fixes everything, don't you?" he said. I was stunned. "What? No, I just wanted to—" "You wanted to show off," he interrupted. "You wanted to remind us how successful you are, how much better you're doing than we ever did." "That's not fair," I said, my voice rising. "I'm trying to help. I'm trying to give back." "We don't want it," he snapped. "We don't need it. And we don't need you coming around here acting like you're better than us." Those words cut like a knife. "Fine," I said, dropping the bags on the floor. "If that's how you feel, I won't bother anymore." I walked out, didn't look back. 3 weeks later, he had a heart attack, and 2 days after that, he was gone. I never got to apologize, never got to explain, never got to tell him I loved him one last time. And for 7 years, I lived with that weight on my chest. The weight of knowing the last thing I ever said to my father was said in anger. But I didn't know the whole story. Not yet.
The box showed up at my door last Tuesday. It was from my mom. No note, no explanation, just a cardboard box with Dad's things written on top and her shaky handwriting. I almost didn't open it. I'd avoided dealing with his stuff for 7 years. Every time Mom asked me to come by and sort through his belongings, I made an excuse. Too busy with work, too far away, too painful. But really, I was just too ashamed, because every time I thought about him, all I could remember was that fight, his angry face, his cold words, the way he looked at me like I was a stranger, like he hated me. But this time, something made me open the box. Inside were his things, his old watch, his reading glasses, a worn baseball cap he wore everywhere, a few photos of us from when I was a kid, me in his arms, both of us smiling like nothing could ever come between us. And at the bottom, an envelope, sealed, my name written on the front in his handwriting. My heart stopped. I picked it up with shaking hands. The envelope was yellowed, like it had been sitting in that box for years. The seal was still intact. No one had opened it. Why hadn't Mom given this to me before? I tore it open, hands trembling, and pulled out 3 pages of lined notebook paper, folded carefully. His handwriting covered every inch. Messy, slanted, like he'd written it in a hurry. The first line hit me like a punch to the stomach. To my son, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and it means you still don't know the truth. I sat down on the floor, tears already blurring my vision, and kept reading. I need you to know something. I need you to understand why I pushed you away, why I acted the way I did, why I said those terrible things to you. It wasn't because I was angry at you. It wasn't because I thought you were better than us. It wasn't because I didn't love you. It was because I was dying, and I didn't want you to watch. My breath caught in my throat. 6 months before our fight, the doctors told me I had a bad heart, real bad. They said I had maybe a year, maybe less. They said there wasn't much they could do. I didn't tell your mother. I didn't tell you. I didn't tell anyone, because I didn't want to be a burden. I knew if I told you, you'd drop everything. You'd quit your job, move back home, spend all your time and money trying to save me. And I couldn't let you do that. You worked so hard to get where you are, son. You built a life I could only dream of. And I was so proud of you. So damn proud. But I also knew you'd give it all up for me. That's the kind of man you are. That's the kind of man I raised you to be. So I made a choice I'm not proud of. I pushed you away. I acted cold. I acted angry. I refused your help, your gifts, your kindness. Not because I didn't want them, but because I needed you to stay away. I needed you to keep living your life, building your future, being successful and happy. I couldn't let you put your life on hold to watch me die. Tears poured down my face. My chest felt like it was being crushed. That last fight we had, when I said all those terrible things, I didn't mean any of it. I was trying to make you angry enough to leave, to stop coming around, to stop trying so hard. And it worked. You left, and you didn't come back. And even though it broke my heart, I knew it was the right thing, because you needed to move on. You needed to live. You needed to keep being the amazing man you'd become. I just wish I could have told you the truth. I wish I could have held you one more time and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for lying. I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for making you think I didn't love you. Because I loved you more than anything in this world, son. I loved you enough to let you go. I couldn't breathe, couldn't see, couldn't think. All this time, 7 years. I thought he hated me. I thought I'd failed him. I thought our last moment together was ruined by my pride and his anger. But he wasn't angry. He was protecting me. He was dying and he didn't want me to suffer with him, so he made himself the villain. He made me hate him so I stay away, so I wouldn't watch him fade, so I wouldn't carry the weight of his death. He sacrificed our relationship to save me from pain, and I never knew. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and I hope you can forgive me. Forgive me for lying. Forgive me for pushing you away. Forgive me for making you think, even for a second, that I didn't love you. You were the best thing I ever did in this life, and I'm so proud of the man you became. Live your life, son. Be happy. Don't carry guilt or regret. Just remember that your old man loved you. Every single day. Forever. Dad. I sat on that floor and sobbed like a child. 7 years of guilt. 7 years of pain. 7 years of believing I'd lost my father because of my own mistakes. But I was wrong. He never stopped loving me. He never stopped being proud. He just loved me enough to break his own heart to protect mine.
I don't know how long I sat there on the floor, clutching that letter, crying until there were no tears left. Eventually, I called my mom. She answered on the third ring. "Hello? Mom?" I said, my voice raw and broken. "Why didn't you give me this letter before?" There was a long silence. Then, quietly, "You found it." "Yes, I found it," I said. "Why didn't you give it to me 7 years ago? Why did you wait?" She let out a shaky breath. "Because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid you'd be angry," she whispered. "Afraid you'd hate him for lying. Afraid it would make things worse instead of better." "Mom," she let out a shaky breath. "Your father made me promise. He made me promise not to give you that letter until you were ready, until enough time had passed. He said if I gave it to you too soon, you'd just feel guilty. He wanted you to heal first."
Heal? I choked out. "Mom, I've spent 7 years thinking he died hating me." "I know," she sobbed. "I know, sweetheart, and I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was honoring his wishes. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have given it to you sooner." I closed my eyes, fresh tears streaming down my face. He was sick. He was dying, and he didn't tell us. "He didn't want to be a burden," Mom said softly. "You know how your father was, stubborn, proud. He spent his whole life taking care of us. He couldn't stand the idea of us taking care of him." "But that's what family does," I said, my voice breaking. "We take care of each other." "I know," she whispered, but he saw it differently. He thought love meant protecting you from pain, even if it meant hurting himself. I thought about that, about how Dad had spent his whole life sacrificing for us, working 2 jobs so we could have a better life, going without so we could have more. And in the end, he'd made the ultimate sacrifice. He'd let us think he didn't love us so we wouldn't have to watch him die. "There's more," Mom said quietly. "More?" "In the box, there's a journal. Your father kept it during his last year. He wrote in it every day about you, about us, about his regrets and his hopes." My heart clenched. "I didn't see a journal." "It's in the bottom, under the lining.
He hid it there. I think he wanted you to find it. Eventually." After we hung up, I went back to the box, lifted out the remaining items, and sure enough, taped to the bottom, under a piece of fabric, was a small leather journal. I pulled it free with trembling hands. The first entry was dated 8 months before he died. "Doctor says I've got a year at most. Heart's giving out. I'm not surprised. I've worked it hard for 60 years. Guess it's earned a rest. Haven't told Sarah yet. Haven't told my boy. Don't think I will. My son's got a good life now. Good job, good future. I won't be the thing that ruins it." I flipped through the pages, reading entry after entry. Each one broke my heart a little more. "Saw my boy today. He brought gifts again, expensive ones. He's always trying to give back, always trying to make me proud. Doesn't he know I've been proud since the day he was born? Had to push him away today. He offered to pay off the house. Sweet kid, doesn't understand I don't want his money, I want his happiness. But if he stays close, he'll figure out I'm dying and then he'll never leave. We fought today, said terrible things. His face when he walked out, I'll never forget it. But it had to be done. He's better off thinking I'm a stubborn old fool than watching me waste away. My chest hurts tonight, more than usual. Probably don't have much time left, but at least my boy is living his life. At least he's not here watching me die. That's worth everything."
The final entry was dated 2 days before he died. "If you're reading this, son, it means I'm gone. And I hope you understand now. I didn't push you away because I stopped loving you. I pushed you away because I loved you too much to let you see me like this. You were my greatest accomplishment, my proudest moment, and I couldn't let you remember me as weak and broken. I wanted you to remember me as I was, strong, capable, your hero. Maybe that was selfish. Maybe I should have let you say goodbye properly, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch the hurt in your eyes as I faded. So I hurt you first. I pushed you away. I made myself the villain.
And I'm sorry, but I'd do it again. Because protecting you was always my job, even from my own death. Be happy, son. Live well. And know that every single day of your life, I was proud to be your father. Love always, Dad." I closed the journal and held it to my chest, sobbing. He'd spent his final year in pain, not just physical pain, but emotional pain. The pain of pushing away the son he loved, the pain of dying alone, the pain of knowing I thought he hated me, all to protect me. All because he loved me too much to let me suffer with him. And I'd spent 7 years hating myself for a fight that was never really a fight at all. It was a father's final act of love. The most painful, beautiful, heartbreaking act of love.
I went to his grave the next morning. It was early. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange. The cemetery was quiet, except for birds singing in the trees. I hadn't been back since the funeral. Couldn't bear it. Every time I thought about visiting, the guilt would crush me, and I'd turn around. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't carrying guilt. I was carrying understanding. I found his headstone and sat down in the grass beside it, placed my hand on the cold marble, closed my eyes. "Hey, Dad," I whispered. "I'm sorry it took me so long to come back." The wind rustled through the trees. For a moment, I could almost feel him there, almost hear his voice. "I read your letter," I said. tears streaming down my face. And your journal. And I understand now. I understand why you did what you did.
I opened my eyes and stared at his name carved in stone. John Michael Parker, beloved husband and father. You were wrong about one thing, though, I said, my voice shaking. You thought pushing me away would protect me from pain. But, Dad, it didn't. It just made the pain last longer. I wiped my eyes. I spent 7 years thinking you died hating me. 7 years carrying guilt so heavy I could barely breathe. 7 years wishing I could take back that fight. The tears came harder now. And yeah, if I'd known you were dying, I would have quit my job. I would have moved home. I would have spent every single second with you. Because that's what you deserve, Dad. You deserve to be surrounded by the people who loved you. I took a shaky breath. But I get it now. I get why you did it. You spent your whole life sacrificing for me, working yourself to death so I could have a better life. And in the end, you made one last sacrifice. You let me hate you so I could keep living. I pressed my forehead against the headstone. That's the most Dad thing you could have possibly done. A sob escaped my throat. I just wish you'd trusted me to handle it. I wish you'd let me be strong for you the way you were always strong for me. But even as I said it, I knew why he hadn't. Because parents don't stop being parents. They don't stop trying to protect their kids, even when those kids are grown, even when they're dying. Love doesn't work like that. I forgive you, I whispered, for lying, for pushing me away, for making me think you didn't love me. I forgive you for all of it. I sat there for a long time just talking to him, telling him about my life, about work, about the things I'd accomplished and the mistakes I'd made, all the things I should have told him while he was alive. I'm going to do better, Dad, I said finally. I'm going to live the life you wanted me to live. I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to make you proud. I stood up, brushed off my jeans, and placed the letter on his grave, weighted down with a small stone. I love you, I said. Always have, always will. As I walked back to my car, I felt lighter, like a weight I'd been carrying for 7 years had finally lifted. He hadn't died hating me. He died loving me so much, he was willing to break both our hearts to protect mine. And that changed everything. That afternoon, I called my mom. I went to see him, I said. How are you feeling? She asked gently. Better, I said. Still sad. Still wish things had been different, but better. He loved you so much, Mom said, her voice thick with emotion. Everything he did was because he loved you. I know, I whispered. I know that now. There was a pause. Then Mom said, He'd be so proud of you. You know that, right? Proud of the man you've become. Proud of how you handled this. Proud that you found the strength to forgive him. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I hope so. I know so, she said firmly, because he told me every single day, even when he was pushing you away, he'd tell me how proud he was, how much he loved you, how hard it was to pretend he didn't. I miss him, I said, my voice breaking. I miss him too, Mom whispered. Every single day. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us crying, both of us grieving, both of us finally understanding. Thank you for giving me the letter,
I said finally. Even if it took 7 years. Thank you. You're welcome, sweetheart, she said softly. I think you were finally ready to hear it.
Maybe she was right. Maybe 7 years ago I wouldn't have been able to understand. Maybe I would have been too angry, too hurt, too consumed by grief to see the love behind the lie. But now I understood. Now I saw it clearly. My father's final gift to me wasn't money or advice or wisdom. It was freedom. Freedom from the burden of watching him die. Freedom to live my life without guilt or regret. Freedom to remember him as he was. Strong, capable, loving. And even though it cost him everything, even though it meant dying alone and letting me think he hated me, he gave me that gift anyway. Because that's what fathers do. They sacrifice, they protect, they love with everything they have, even when it breaks them.
It's been 3 months since I read my father's letter. 3 months since I learned the truth. 3 months since I finally understood why he pushed me away. And I've spent every single day of those 3 months thinking about what it means to love someone. Really love them. Because my father taught me something I never understood before. Love isn't just about being there in the good times. It's not just about showing up when things are easy and everyone's happy. Real love is about making the hard choices, the painful choices, the choices that break your heart because you believe they'll protect the person you love. My dad chose to die alone rather than let me watch him suffer. He chose to push me away rather than burden me with his illness. He chose to let me think he didn't love me rather than trap me in grief.
And for 7 years, I thought those choices meant he didn't care. But now I know the truth. Those choices were love in its purest, most painful form. I think about all the times in my life when someone hurt me and I assumed it was because they didn't care. All the times someone pushed me away and I thought it meant I didn't matter. But sometimes people push you away because they love you too much to pull you down with them. Sometimes people hurt you because they're trying to protect you from something worse. Sometimes the people who seem the coldest are actually the ones burning up inside with love they don't know how to express. My father wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He should have told me the truth. He should have let me make my own choice about whether to stay or go. But he did what he thought was right, and he did it out of love. And I can't be angry about that. Not anymore. I've also learned something else. Something just as important. We waste so much time holding grudges, carrying guilt, replaying old fights and old wounds over and over in our minds. I spent 7 years believing my father died hating me. 7 years punishing myself for words said in anger. 7 years convinced I'd failed him. And all of it was based on a misunderstanding. If I just asked more questions, if I'd just pushed a little harder to understand why he was acting the way he was, if I just looked past my own hurt and seen his pain, maybe things would have been different. Or maybe not. Maybe he would have kept lying. Maybe he would have kept pushing me away no matter what I did. But at least I would have tried. And that's what I want people to understand. That's the lesson I learned from my father's letter.
Don't assume you know why people do what they do. Don't assume their coldness means they don't care. Don't assume their distance means they don't love you. Sometimes the people who love us the most are the ones who have the hardest time showing it. Sometimes love looks like anger, or silence, or pushing away. And sometimes the only way to understand is to ask, to dig deeper, to look past your own hurt and try to see theirs. I wish I'd done that with my dad. I wish I'd sat him down and demanded the truth. I wish I'd refused to leave until he told me what was really going on. But I didn't. And now, he's gone. And I can't get that time back. But I can learn from it. I can do better with the people who are still here. Now, when someone I love starts pulling away, I don't assume the worst. I ask questions. I listen. I try to understand what they're not saying. Because I learned the hard way that silence doesn't always mean indifference. Sometimes it means someone is carrying a burden too heavy to share.
I also visit my dad's grave every week now. Every Saturday morning, the same time we used to go to the diner together. I bring coffee, black, the way he liked it. And I sit on the grass and I talk to him. I tell him about my life, about the things I'm learning, about the ways I'm trying to be better. And I thank him for everything he sacrificed, for everything he gave up, for loving me enough to let me go. I've also started reaching out to people I've lost touch with, old friends I fought with, family members I haven't spoken to in years, people I let slip away because of pride or hurt or misunderstanding. Because life is too short and love is too precious, and we never know when we'll run out of time to make things right. One of those people was my uncle, my dad's brother. We hadn't spoken since the funeral. He'd said something I took the wrong way, and I'd cut him off. But after reading Dad's letter, I called him.
I'm sorry, I said, for shutting you out, for holding a grudge, for wasting time being angry. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Your dad would be proud of you for this call." And we talked, really talked, for the first time in years. He told me stories about my dad I'd never heard, about how stubborn he was, how proud, how much he loved his family but struggled to show it. He was the same way with everyone, my uncle said, always trying to be strong, always trying to protect people, even when it hurt him. I wish I'd understood that sooner, I said. You understand it now, my uncle replied. And that's what matters. He's right. Understanding now doesn't erase the past. It doesn't give me back the time I lost with my father, but it does give me a future where I don't make the same mistakes. A future where I choose understanding over judgment, connection over pride, love over fear.
And maybe that's what my father wanted all along. Maybe his final gift wasn't just freedom from watching him die. Maybe it was also the lesson that would help me live better, love better, be better. I'll never know for sure. I can't ask him. I can't hear his voice or see his face or feel his hand on my shoulder telling me I'm on the right path. But I think he'd be proud. I think he'd see the man I'm becoming, the man who learned to forgive, to understand, to love even when it's hard, and he'd know his sacrifice wasn't in vain. So here's what I want to leave you with. If there's someone in your life who's pulled away, don't assume you know why. Ask, dig deeper, look past your hurt and try to see theirs. If there's someone you're angry at, someone you've cut off, someone you haven't spoken to in years, reach out. Life is too short for grudges, too precious for pride.
And if there's something you need to say to someone you love, say it now. Don't wait. Don't assume there will be more time.
Because sometimes there isn't. My father ran out of time, and he left me a letter instead of a conversation, words on paper instead of words spoken face to face. And while I'm grateful for that letter, for the truth it gave me, for the understanding it brought, I traded in a heartbeat for one more Saturday morning at the diner, one more cup of black coffee, one more conversation where he listened like every word mattered, one more chance to tell him I loved him and hear him say it back. But I can't have that. None of us can bring back the past. All we can do is learn from it and do better going forward. So that's what I'm doing. Living the life my father wanted me to live, being the man he raised me to be, and carrying his love. Complicated, imperfect, but real, with me every single day. Because in the end, that's what matters. Not the fights or the misunderstandings or the time we wasted being angry. What matters is the love, the sacrifices, the moments when someone chose to protect you even when it cost them everything. My father loved me enough to let me go, to push me away, to break his own heart so mine could stay whole. And now that I understand that, I finally understand everything. I understand why he did what he did, why he said what he said, why he chose pain over honesty. And I forgive him completely, without reservation. Because love isn't perfect. It's messy and complicated, and sometimes it looks like anger or distance or lies. But it's still love, and it still matters, and it's still worth everything. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever discovered the truth behind someone's actions too late? I'd love to hear your story, because we're all just trying to figure out this messy, beautiful thing called love. And maybe by sharing our stories, we can help each other understand it a little better.